Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Superfed TV Presents REL Divisions 1, 2, and 3. I am your host, Superfed TV, and joining me today is Cheesex, or Cheesex, depending on how you read it. Thanks for joining me, Cheese.
Thanks for having me.
And we are going to begin our coverage today with Division 3, as we always do. For those of you that don't know Cheese, he is a Division 1 orc coach, possibly one of the first orc coaches to make it to Div 1, so that's nice. And we'll cover his team a little bit later on today, but he also plays additional teams like Skaven, Bretonians, some of those Agile teams, so he's got some insights as well for other coaches. Now with Div 3, we're looking at the wrong day. Day 5, looking at the results. Please don't murder me. Completed a game without having to DC. Hooray, hooray. He played Cenobite the Curb and unfortunately lost 1-3.
Looks like it couldn't have been fun.
You know, that's a Tentacle Chaos Warrior that got the MVP, and
Oh no.
I am thinking that this team might have been built to play against elves, which is not what you usually see out of Chaos. So, if
Yeah?
the Tentacle success rolls were 0 for 5, even though it's only a straight 4 Chaos Warrior, so that tells me quite a bit about this match. 5 successful passes though, so it wasn't all completely a waste for Luke Sama. He did get plenty of SPP out of it, even though he only scored once.
That doesn't look like the team imploded, which was sort of my original assumption when I saw elves losing 1-3
Yeah,
against chaos.
mostly just control out of Chaos Team, which is not what you usually get. Big Green Weenies lost 0-1 to Howl at the Moon. Rumblebee's continuing his dominance over the division in Week 5. However, I will say this, Big Green Weenies are a Mighty Blow heavy stacked team, and they got 26 armor breaks against the only 7 Howl at the Moon. Rod did some stuff, but only 1 inflicted injury and 4 knockouts. That's not that great. Compared.
7 armor breaks and 17 blocks isn't too bad though.
It's true. He had to pick his battles pretty carefully, and I'm just guessing that the removals were probably early for the orcs, so that he was kind of forced into making fewer blocks with the fewer pieces that he had. Be my guess. It's unfortunate though. Big Green Weenies, they're just looks like they're having a building season more than a killing season. Next match was the Necromantic Newbies taking on Not FDA Approved. Not FDA Approved wins that one 3-2. Quite the shootout there. Not FDA Approved's the one with the Strength 5 Mighty Blow Tackle Elf.
That disgusting thing.
Yes, so he did get an injury, and he does take plenty of blocks. He's also a high elf coach that fouls and doesn't really pass, although he did complete 3 passes this match, but he likes to point out that he's had quite the high interception rate, even though he doesn't pass very often, so probably vanity passes knowing him. Necromantic Newbies are a team that likes to foul, which is something that with only 41 blocks, but 15 armor breaks, he might have been fouling. Oh, 2 expulsions, there you go. So he was fouling, he just got caught doing it. But this match kind of played out as I would have expected. Necromantic Newbies had a rough last season, but this season kind of came out strong. Not FDA Approved was a team that got stuck in Div 3, even though they could have got promoted up to Div 2. So they're doing quite well this season. Next up is Dimension C137 with Scholarly Gentleman. The Undead team takes this one 2-1. If you haven't seen this Undead team, Cheese, this is one to watch. They've got just about everything you could ask for, including a Strength 6 mummy and a Blodge mummy.
I'm sorry, did you say Strength 6 mummy?
And a Blodge mummy.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, Strength 6 has break tackle as well, so no cage is safe if it's in its range. Looks like both teams had a death here. I don't know if it was anything serious. But that's back-to-back deaths for Dimension C137, so something to keep an eye on. They were one of the top TV teams in this division, so a little trimming probably doesn't hurt them too much. and a death for the Chaos as well.
Looks like it was just a zombie for C137 and a Blodge double niggled Beastman for the Scholarly Gentleman.
So I would say that those are probably both okay deaths for both teams.
Yeah.
The Rebel Rousers played 3 mountains, the humans versus the dwarves, in a 1-1 draw. That's a bigger deal for the human team than it is the dwarf team. The dwarf team was in the playoff hunt, and so this draw doesn't hurt them too much, but it does give some much needed points to the Rebel Rousers, who are near the bottom of the bracket. So this is a good draw for them, and a good result, and no deaths as well.
That catcher rolled a possibility.
Ooh, nice. That's now officially an elf.
I clicked on it like, oh, he must have almost natural one turner now. No, it's got agility now.
That's
Because
not a
of
bad
course
thing
it
either.
does.
Yeah. I think he'll be happy with the agility. Skeeky Island Boys, the Lizards, played The Secret of My Success, which are actually both teams that we're going to be covering this week. The Secret of My Success looks like was completely outblocked, but got way more damage out of it. 33 blocks succeeded, 4 injuries inflicted, versus 60 blocks for the Lizards and only 1 injury inflicted.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting result there. I'm curious how that one looked. That might be one I go back and look at later this week.
Interestingly, the orc has succeeded all his pickup rolls and his pass rolls and all of his KO rolls. Lots of 100% here.
Yeah. Only
They
thing he
both
didn't do very
leveled.
well was catching, but yeah, and
They
dodging.
both leveled pieces off the MVP, which is helpful.
Yeah, a lot of the Div 3 teams are still at points where they're consistently getting level ups. It's usually once we get to Div 2 that level ups are a lot fewer and further between.
Having that
Go ahead.
3-skill black orc is pretty useful, though.
That is the point where Black Orcs can start to vary off the beaten path and are very, very useful. Lords, we'll go into that team in depth in just a minute here. Lords of Decay in Lebowski Urban Achievers. The Lords of Decay do get, I believe this is their first win of the season, and this is one of the ones that we talked about. We said that this matchup was going to be one that Khaleesi would be able to capitalize on. Even though they suffered 22 armor breaks, the 3-2 victory's got to feel good.
Yeah. 57 blocks, 5 KOs, 4 injuries.
The Rats inflicted an injury themselves, and this is a team that I think averages about 15 blocks a match, so I think even they were kind of throwing punches to win this one and stay in it as much as they could, which that's good. It was a much needed win for them.
Looks like they didn't take any damage out of it either.
Oh, that's the best win.
Injuries really mattered.
Yeah, that's the best kind of Skaven win. So let's pop over to the leaderboard. As we said, ATL, the coach of not FDA approved, the High Elves on crack. They are 5-1-0, and this does include some matches from week 6. Necromantic team, Howl at the Moon, Rumblebee at 4-0-2. Mentioned C137, 3-2-0. And the Necromantic Newbies at 3-2-1. I guess the last one will conclude in that list with 3 wins. The Dwarves, 3 Mountains at 3-1-2. There are 3 playoff seeds in this division, and we are starting to get to the point now where those teams have broken ahead. However, if you're still in the middle, the Sneaky Island Boys, Cenobite the Curb, those of you with 2 wins, you're not entirely out of it, but at this point you're going to need help. Some of these teams ahead of you are going to have to start taking serious losses for you to get caught up and ahead.
You're going to have to make a run.
Yeah, definitely. Luck on both sides, both your wins and the opposing losses. So the 2 teams that we're going to cover, the first one is the Skinky Island Boys. I went one too far back. Skinky Island Boys, which are a lizard team coached by Wave. They are a playoff team. They went undefeated in their original season, and I want to say Div 5 last season. some developed Saurus. They've got 2 Saurus that just repeatedly die over and over again, and then a couple that are now even approaching level 4. Flint is a great one actually with block, tackle, and break tackle. And an AV busted Croxagore that has managed to survive some of the toughest opponents. Let's see, and then the skinks. Wow, a couple, 3
Some
really
very
good
good
skinks.
skinks.
Yeah. Usually you get, maybe 1 blodge skink and 1 stat up skink. To have 2 stat up skinks and different stat ups is really nice.
I'd probably cycle this minus move one. Your other skinks are so good, you may as well just.
Yeah, he's had trouble keeping 6 Saurus on the pitch, so that's probably the only reason he hasn't done it yet, but I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
He's got the money for it, so. But that's typical of what you'd see on like Eyes and Mike's team too. You never really see him go below 80k if he can help it, because he just
Things
knows.
are always dying.
Yeah, the Saurus is always the first thing to get killed, even before skinks. It seems like. This season, he's right in the middle of the pack. We mentioned he's got 2 wins so far. Certainly not out of it. His overall record is 17-4-6. In the playoffs, he just didn't quite have the skills to compete on his pieces. But as a coach, I think he plays very well.
Don't remember who he played in the first round, but I think he went out that one.
He did, yeah. I can't exactly place who it was either, but
It might have been no, because Motley went out the first round. I think it's been too long.
I know. As far as other development, I will call out lack of guard. I think that's the main reason his Croc score hasn't been cycled. Well, it's a block score, so that's probably the other real reason why it hasn't been cycled. But
I think I would keep it, at least until it takes another
perm, yeah,
injury that matters.
yeah.
Like
You
if it takes a niggle or another AV break, it goes. It's lost its APO privileges.
That's for sure. Yeah, and it's it could always take an agi bust. Those are like, they're not a big deal to source or lizards in general.
Not having any mighty blow tackle is a bit disconcerting to me, but at the same time, there's just so many skills Saurus need.
Yeah, and usually the pieces that you're hitting with tackle are lower AV, so it's kind of like having a mighty blow. He's got more mighty blow than your typical lizard would have at this point in development. He's got 3 of them. Normally, you have 1 mighty blow, rush 1, and then the other 2, I'm assuming are just going to go block anyway. But I do think 3 guard is the minimum for a lizard team, or just any team that's going to be punching a lot and basing a lot.
Yeah, I'd probably pick up guard on one of these mighty blowosaurs the next time they level.
Yeah,
and just give the other one tackle.
Yep, I agree. Perfect. So let's go ahead and move on to the other team. This is one that we're both going to know a bit more about. The Orc team, The Secret of My Success. This is coached by Rusty Seabutter, who is a fellow sports reporter. And he's going into a tough match this week against the Undead team, but missing next game on a Black Orc. Got a niggled Black Orc, a unskilled one, but the 3 that are skilled, you can't really complain about that. I mean, block, guard, and mighty blow, those are the staples of a Black Orc.
I wish I had some 3 skilled Black Orcs. It'd be nice.
I've got one that's really, really skilled, and it takes all the SPP away from every other Black Orc, it seems like. But we'll look at my team later. Additionally, this team has a movement up thrower. Everybody likes to crap on the throwers until they get a stat up. This one with movement, I think, is a great stat up to have. It makes it effectively a 5th blitzer, and really does allow you to keep up with the rest of your team or position a little bit better. Blitzer wise, we've got the killer, we've got the start of a frenzy piece. I would actually say that the development on this team is kind of reversed from what you usually see. These are not the most developed blitzers, but very developed black orcs.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can get them going this way, it's probably better. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Long-term
Black Orcs are
development
the
wise,
hard
for
thing
sure.
to
Yeah, yeah. Your blitzers will
beat.
definitely catch up, especially now that you've got a killer.
This Agi4 Blodger is a very good piece.
Yeah, I would have liked to guard before tackle on the Agi 4 Blodge, personally.
Probably.
Same with the other one as well. I mean, both Blodgers. Um,
Yeah, the other one I would have gone guard stand for him
mhm.
and given the Agi4 tackle just because he's going to make more use of it.
Yeah, I think you don't want to be doing dodge tackle blitzes unless you absolutely have to. Um,
But with this Agi4 blitzer and the plus movement on the thrower, he has the potential to move the ball pretty much the entire field
that's true.
if
It
he
is a
wants to.
very effective offensive orc team, which you don't see a lot of. Um, Although, well, still, we'll talk about your team later as well, because I would say that you're more of an offensive-oriented coach for your orcs. And then he's got the frenzy piece. If it was me doing it, the next one is Juggernaut. But what would you take after frenzy?
Um, I would probably consider Mighty Blow just because you don't have a lot of mobile Mighty Blow.
Sure.
Like you only have the one Mighty Blow Blitzer.
Yeah. And usually you do want to. And then he's got a block lineman. I don't like this. First of all, dirty player. That's kind of an essential skill for orcs. Fouling is a really good thing for them. 50k linemen are disposable. And then if you don't roll doubles and get guard here, I mean, what are you going to get? Kick? Well, that's kind of bloaty now at a 90k lineman.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like the block there, but what do you think?
I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, without a troll, with an extra player, like you have the potential to put your thrower off on defense and just have three linemen in the middle of on the line of scrimmage, which I mean, for a lot of orc teams, you'll look at it and go, okay, I mean, I don't really want to, but I've got to put a black orc or two on the line. But
Yeah,
here, he's picked up a block lineman, and so he can just sort of throw him on the line. He's less likely to get knocked down.
if you're
Admittedly,
gonna do that, then that's where I would say take wrestle instead.
um, yeah, but
Because
at the same time, movement 5, you kind of want to stay standing.
well, you don't just have wrestle normally on their team, and that can actually be helpful for bringing down the ball if you get in that position. But
Sure enough. I would like to see the next lineman the level get dirty player because honestly, dirty player is just that good a skill, especially on a
yep,
50k base lineman.
absolutely. We're in agreement there. Statistically speaking, this team is 8-8-8. That is the classic 33% player. But it's orcs. They have their sweet spots. I think you're on the cusp of one. Just being able to take advantage of it with what you got, and getting that black work back is going to make a big difference for you.
Just needs one or two more levels, I think, and he's got a incredibly scary team.
Yeah, yeah, and very TV efficient as well. I will say. I know he's missing that black
The
work,
opposite
so
of mine.
yeah, so it's around 1600. He's going to be getting a ton of inducements against like the undead team next week, or against Rumblebee or FTL, or not FDA approved. So yeah, I think he's in a decent spot. This may not be the season for him because he just is already behind in points, but definitely a
Next
team
season.
worth keeping. Yeah, definitely a team worth keeping. So looking at the matches that have not been played yet for week 6, the ones that stand out to me as matches to check out: Scholarly Gentlemen versus the Big Green Weenies. Big Green Weenies have been putting the punches in with Mighty Blow. They're going up against a Chaos team that has a Claw Mighty Blow Minotaur. And so this is going to be a match that I expect to be explosive. I expect there to be injuries. and I would expect the Orcs to win. The other match to check out is going to be the Bowski's Urban Achievers versus the Rebel Rousers. Both these teams have had slow starts to the season, and one of them, I think at this point, is in a position where they can pivot and start getting some wins. I'm curious to see which one comes out of this one ahead.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's unlikely that they get into the top 3, but if they get some wins, they can
at
move
this
up the
point,
boards and
they're
try to
both
stay
playing
above the
for
board.
positive, winning seasons above 500%. You don't
Yeah,
always have to make the playoffs, but you can still have a good season.
yeah, they're trying to stay above the bottom set and stay in Div 3
Yep,
at this
you got
point.
it. You got it. Especially with all the teams that are coming up from rerolls, there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be potential for a lot of these teams to get relegated. And then of course, I mean, I didn't highlight it like these two matches, but Secret of My Success, which is Dimension C1 through 7, that'll be an interesting game too.
Yeah.
I just think that the Undead's gonna probably take that one. So let us move on to Division 2, which is my division. And Week 5 action, Oil Miners tied. Typos happen in a 1-1 draw. 21 armor breaks for the Dwarves. They got plenty of removals, but the Orcs actually did a pretty good job of stalling out that score from the Dwarves in the second half in order to keep this match close. I did watch this one live. But you see a significant number of blocks for the Dwarf team, and the Orcs were pretty much just stopping the ball from getting picked up as best they could by throwing bodies at the Dwarves.
That's sort of what happens in this kind of matchup sometimes.
Especially between two AV9 teams with a lot of Mighty Blow. Usually one team gets all the breaks. Iron Madden played Rats Off to you and did his Iron Madden thing. 18 armor breaks out of 18 blocks. 1 for 1.
I don't know how he does it.
He fouls 16 turns. That's how he does it.
True.
3 expulsions. That's definitely how he
Meanwhile,
does it. But Rats Off to you did get an expulsion back.
7 blocks.
This is actually, though, I didn't really lead with this. This was a big deal. Rats Off to you were actually in number 1 position in the division. And Iron Madden was in 14th? Or, no, not 14th. 10th, 11th, something like that at this point. So this was a huge, huge upset and a big win for the Kimry team.
And that's going to affect a lot of the standings just going forward because of all the wins he's given up.
Well, and jumping ahead, he did win this week as well, so he's actually passed a lot of teams. Yeah, he's 2 wins in a row at the right time against teams that were further ahead of him by a long shot. So he's on the right track. Ace Trucking Company versus Treat Kundo. Quicks is Chaos Dwarfs versus the Wood Elves that keep on dying. MVP on a lineman that's movement busted, so I'm guessing that one didn't get hired onto the team.
I would say not.
Only 32 I guess that's a bit more than average for him, but 32 blocks against Treat Kundo. Only 1 injury, so that was the injury we just saw against the loner there. So no permanent damage to the real team of Treat Kundo. That's a good one. We're going to take a look at that team in a little bit here. Brazzers versus Fruity Kisses. I played Ladeus. I killed Daisy. It made the news. It was kind of a big death. Unfortunately, the death was not enough for me to get the win. He had the early score, and I was not able to equalize. And then on my drive, when I did score, he was able to kind of play keep away with 4 elves, and that was enough for me to not be able to catch up. So unfortunately, I didn't get the win there.
Happens.
Yep, that's elf versus orc for you. You get the removals, and they play keep away.
Ah, here it is. Ooh, which elf? Plus strength, plus AV.
It was his favorite piece, and I do feel bad about it. It was off a foul, but it was a very necessary removal.
Yeah, this is the game where he decided he didn't like Blood Bowl as much anymore.
It hurt him on a deeper level than I was intending. Not an anime sports team played Steve, and this was a 2-1 victory for Arch. This is now putting Arch, I believe, at the top over since Golgoth took that loss. Arch getting the
95
MVP.
levels.
Yeah, and of course he got Leap. God damn, I'm gonna have to play him
Because
later
why
this
not?
season. I really hope he takes some deaths before I play him. He was a nemesis for me last season, and this season he's only gotten better while my team has arguably gotten worse. So, yeah, I'm not looking forward to that one. And let's see. Snovgard drew 1-1 against Leafy Mustard and Grizoot. Actually, I took a look at that one a little bit more.
Actually, not an anime sports team versus Steve. He killed a flesh golem. A block mighty blow guard
I remember
tackle
that.
flesh
Yeah.
golem.
God, that was 2 weeks ago. It seems like. Yes, that was off of just a regular no mighty blow casual block.
Oh, the worst.
Just throws a block at him, gets the knockdown, and boom, he's dead. No regen. And 36 blocks for Snovgard, 50 for Leafy Mustard. Decent showing from both sides here, but the 1-1 draw means kind of a net or zero result. Iron Masters team Snovgard is, I want to say, in the last place right now, but we'll take a look at the leaderboard. Live Tree or Die Hard, the Wood Elves get the 3-2 win over Mainland Rotters. Doesn't matter how many Strength 5 tentacle pieces you have, Wood Elf's gonna Wood Elf. In tentacles, actually, the Wood Elves succeeded 50% of the time, so that's pretty good
Surprising.
dice. That's pretty good dice. So, taking a look at the leaderboard where we stand with a couple games played in week 6, Live Tree or Die Hard is actually in first place with 4 wins, 1 loss. Not an anime sports team right behind him at 3-2-0, and Kimry now at 3-0-3. They played their week 6 game, so they have 3 wins, 3 losses. That puts them at 9 points and ahead of all the other teams that are kind of in a big cluster of ties with 2 wins, a couple draws, couple losses, or me and Ladeus, who are now at 1-4-1 with basically 2 wins by draw. So yeah,
seems to have gone on a run lately.
he did, and he was
Brought himself back into contention, I'd say.
hanging way out at the bottom for a long time. I will say though, because there's 3 playoff spots, and it is Kimry, anything can happen at this point.
Oh,
Even me, as down and out as I am, being where I am at 1-4-1, potentially, if all the stars align, if I win out and my opponents that need losses lose, I could still make it. But my loss this week pretty much killed what I think are my chances of making playoffs.
Although, to be fair, I have found that the getting several draws is usually what saves you and gets you right up there towards that bottom spot.
I agree. I mean, I don't. The problem is nobody here has a ton of losses, except
Yeah.
for Gengar, and so like I said, I don't think it's going to be him that gets the 3rd spot because of those losses. I think the tiebreakers will catch up to him eventually. The fact that he hasn't had any ties, and his TD differential is terrible.
I mean,
So
Emery.
if he's even on points with anybody, they're going to go before he goes. But just the big pack here. I mean, there's just one giant cluster of 8 teams that are all within a couple points of each other, and only one of them is probably going to come out of it. And I would say that Arch and
this
Duberman
point,
are probably going to
anything could
stay.
happen.
It's true. There's a lot of games left. A lot of games left.
There's a lot of very good coaches in here.
Yep. Well, exactly. I think all but maybe 5 or less coaches here are good candidates for Div 1 for next season. So looking at the teams that we're going to review, we'll start off with my team. And I went back to me.
There are much less orc teams in this dev. It is easier to find you.
Yes.
Last one I went to look for the race name. I was like, that's the wrong team. Oh no, that's still the wrong team.
So my team has had, what did I say? I looked it up today. 7 deaths or permanent strength buffs in the last 11 games. That is
Fun.
not the AV9 that I wanted when I chose orcs. And only one of those was to claw. Most of my deaths are just to either mighty blow, like a big guy, or random blocks, just as it happens. Only one of them was a fouling death, but I just can't keep my developed. Well, actually, my deaths have been kind of all over the place. I lost a troll. I lost an Agi 4 blitzer that I got replaced with an Agi 4 blitzer, so that was kind of nice. And I lost a couple black orcs, and then linemen like crazy. But yeah, this is my team. Tell me what you think of it.
Well, first thing that sticks out is you only have 3 black orcs.
That would be after the last game where I lost both a black orc and a lineman.
I like the thrower. It's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have ended up taking kickoff return before tackle, but I don't know the way your team looked, and you don't have a lot of tackle.
I'll explain it. So I didn't have a lot of tackle, and B, I use him as a safety. So it's AV8. It's on the field both times because it's too expensive to keep on the sideline. And so I don't want my AV8 strength 4 blodge piece getting hit ever. So when I'm on defense, I keep him in the backfield, and even though he is movement 5, I can steer the ball using my stand firm pieces, back when I had a stand firm troll, to one side of the pitch or the other, and then use him as a safety on that side of the pitch, and then pull back one of my blitzers on the opposite side of the pitch, so I've got a safety on that side. And that's kind of how, with tackle, he does stuff on defense, and he did take down War Dancer, which allowed me to win on a very important game last season against Stouticus. This season, I've also used tackle offensively. Being strength 4, there are definitely times where you just have to potato, and it's strength 4 and blodge. And so in the first match of the season against Yayo, there was a tackle werewolf that was on him, but because it was the only piece on him, I was able to blitz, and using tackle, take out the werewolf and blitz in for the touchdown. So
Sense.
tackle has uses on both offense and defense on this piece because of the strength 4.
Yeah. And then you've got this blitzer with blodge, tackle, stand firm, guard, mighty blow. Like, he's complete.
Yep.
Like,
I've got
strength up.
Yeah, I mean, once it hits legend, I probably am going to get shadowing. I'm not even kidding. Because I wanted it to be a diving tackle threat, but I never rolled a second double. And with shadowing, it's kind of a poor man's diving tackle. Plus, people like to run away from that piece because that piece isn't going to go anywhere. And so if I can follow it, it is movement 6. I mean, there's a decent chance of success. So if it ever lives to legend, that is where that one's going to go. But that's one of my problems with my team is I have 3 really, really good pieces. And then I have a bunch of pieces that die. But my Black Orc Megan Rain is awesome. About to get stand firm unless it rolls doubles, and then I will get diving tackle on that piece.
Makes sense.
And then
The plus Agi guard, I like it. It's
that's my newest blitzer. I've only had that one for, well, since the Devastational. And so I'm just feeding that one touchdowns as best I can.
11 matches.
Yep. And the killer just got jump up, which is cool. I was supposed to get tackle for my match against Lideus, and I rolled doubles, so I figured I might as well.
Yeah. You kind of really want tackle, but at the same time, you take your jump up when you can get it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I've got one Black Orc that I cannot get this next level for guard to save the life of me. I used like probably 12 dice against skinks in my last game against Gerzoot, and I could not get the level up. It was very frustrating.
Honestly, I mean, just finishing out this season and using it the rest of it as a rebuilding season, your team is going to look very good next season.
Yeah, and
Assuming things don't
that
die.
yeah, that was the problem. So I started last season better than I am right now. I was at 1900, like 1930 TV last season, and that was my season to win things, and I just went on a death spiral. And then this season was, well, the devastation was pretty much my rebuilding. I got up to 1800 TV. I was looking pretty good, and now I feel like I might be on the verge of another death spiral with those two deaths, because I go from Grzoots lizards that got 2 kills. I play next week. I play orcs that have plenty of mighty blow and killers. I play Gengar with his jackboot Khemri. And then I still also have wedges, mainland rotters with Nurgle, Clawpalm on a couple pieces. So, and Arch has a history of killing my stuff as well, even though he's a stupid high elf. So yeah, I could potentially lose pieces in the next 5 of my 7 last games. So that makes me very nervous. I'm liking if I do lose. If I lose much of the development I have this season, I'm probably just going to reroll Skaven. But I do love where my team's at right now. I just am worried that I'm going to lose something big.
And for anyone thinking, oh, this is just an orc team being dramatic, no, this is very much a normal thing for orc coaches.
Yeah.
The orc playstyle usually forces you to give up more blocks than you want to.
Well, I don't give up a lot of blocks, man. In the last game, I gave up 33 blocks and I got 2 deaths. It's brutal.
And
Like, if
yeah,
I give up more than 50 blocks, I'm doing something wrong.
true enough. And then just sometimes your AV9 pieces just forget to put their armor on.
It's Heronzord's discount AV9.
Yeah, I keep trying to figure out how my team keeps picking that stuff up.
Yeah, it's bad.
I blame the goblin.
Statistically speaking, all that whining, you might think I have a worse record than I do. The problem is I just get a ton of draws. I'm 23, 13, and 4, and I get draws at the worst times. But considering, yeah, I just got that other loss. I was a 3
I mean,
loss
it's a
team.
good record.
Yeah, and one of them is in the Devastational. So I play to win. I play to win every single game. I play to win every up till turn 16. If there is even the smallest chance, I'm gonna take it. I don't play safe, and obviously comes through in my losses, but it's just, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. It's Blood Bowl. Gotta love it. Make the most of it. So the other team that we're going to cover, we're going to try and pick up on the time, is Trikundo. And to do that, this team's an easy team to pick up time on because it's only half a team. Trikundo is coached by Zork. It was a former REL 1 team. You drop down
And
to REL.
you can tell that.
Yes, you can drop down to REL 2 to rebuild a little bit. So far, his rebuilding efforts have got him not a lot. He's lost a couple pieces already. Is this a perm as well on the award answer? Nope, just missed next game. So, actually, the positionals are healthy. It's really just line meat.
He has are very good.
Yeah.
It's just,
and he just picked up this thrower. So, the tree's good. Movement up tree. Gotta love that. Only thing it's missing is block and grab. Or
and piling on.
Don't need a piling on tree. You need piling on war dancer. That's where it's at. I like the frenzy actually.
Yeah.
Sidestep frenzy. That's pretty solid. Yeah, I mean he's winning games still with the very 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 trim team, and it's.
I mean, he has a whole bunch of players he just doesn't care about that he can just throw at Palmers.
Yeah. Well, and for example, like this catcher, Crouching Cake, that is an awesome piece. Wrestle, Dauntless, Tackle, Leap, and Sidestep.
And if somehow you don't knock him down, he has Sidestep.
Yeah. That's a great piece. And it can actually do the blitzing better than the War Dancers, because it's wrestle tackle instead of
Yeah.
block tackle. So I would not be surprised to see the catcher, even though it relies on Dauntless to get the 1 die. I would not be surprised to see that one coming at me more than the actual War Dancers.
Especially since if Dauntless fails, a red die with, you know,
Wrestle
wrestle,
tackle, yeah.
not that bad.
Yeah, it's certainly
I'd
not.
like to see him, if he ever reaches legend, just take strip ball.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Or pro. Because you are doing Agi 4 leaps. That
Sure.
can eat your reroll. But yeah, I mean, development wise, he's already doing the right thing. He's gonna go for the thrower level ups next since he's got another catcher he's developing. Looks like he knows how to spread that SPP up, and he doesn't seem to be in a rush to get the line elves, which is fine. You don't need leveled line elves. There is a team, obviously the team that's at the top of the ladder right now, Live Tree or Die Hard. They have all the leveled line elves, so there's an argument to be made to go for that, but if you
I will
focus on the
point out
positionals first, that's
in
not bad.
the statistics, he suffered 22 deaths
Mm-hmm.
in, what is this, 48 games, looks like?
Yeah. And it does count journeyman there, so that could be, him just
True.
not caring about those loners. But that's a lot of deaths for even in AV17. But yeah, that's Treat Kundo. So looking at this week, matches still not played that are going to be interesting and exciting. I have Not an Anime Sports Team winning over Mainland Rotters, but I would say this one, just like the Iron Madden versus Golgoth one, is one where there could be an upset. This could definitely pull Not an Anime Sports Team right into the middle of the group if Wedge's tentacles actually do stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. Wedge is a good enough coach to be able to do that.
And Ace Trucking Company versus Steve is the other one I like. Yayo had a good start to the season, and then he kind of slacked off, whereas Quicks came out slow, but has been building momentum. I actually am going to pick Quicks to win this one. I think he's picking up speed, and he's arguably doing the best of all the Chorf teams in REL right now. So
He's greasing it with the blood of every ace imaginable.
yeah, the Hobgoblins are definitely fuel for the fire.
Mostly the ones named Ace.
Yeah, but he's starting to get the corner turned on his Bull Centaur development, and so that also is where Chaos Dwarfs start to really pick up steam, is once those Bull Centaurs are doing the workhorse.
He's taken Wrestle on May's second son of Ace in order to try and keep him alive.
It's reasonable. A Wrestle Strip Ball Hobgoblin is actually pretty useful.
True.
And so that's going to do it for Div 2 coverage. Let's go ahead and move on to Div 1. So, week 5. Just fun fact, REL Div 1 has returned to being ahead of the pace. Only one game left for week 6. So, week 5. New Year's Norse drew 1-1 against Necronomics. I didn't catch this one, but a lot of people were talking about it. It was broadcast. Lots of knockouts, not a lot of injuries. 74 blocks succeeded for the New Year's Norse. Necronomics just were not able to keep up pace with them.
That's a lot of blocks.
That is a lot of blocks, and that's coming from Cheese.
I didn't get to.
King at 84.
I didn't get to see this game.
I was hoping you did.
Unfortunately.
I set you up for that one. I was hoping you saw that. Yeah, it's hard for me to say what happened there because I didn't catch it. But I kind of want to go back and look now, seeing that number of just normally. I mean, it's not that even one-sided usually. 100 blocks thrown is a lot in a game, but usually it's much more even. For him to have more than double the blocks of the Necronomics makes.
I imagine a lot of that is frenzy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Continuing on, Tadpoles in the Big City played you and won 2-1 over you. 130 is kind of on a
Yeah.
tear right now, so I'm not too surprised. 11 armor breaks against AV9 with no claw. That's pretty significant. How'd this game go from your perspective?
That was honestly, it's me needing to tone back my overly aggressive control, mark as many things as I can playstyle now that I don't have as much guard as I used to.
Mm,
And I got really used to it in the last season on Div 2. There was 3 wizard teams, and I was the big team and I had all the guard. So I was able to just mark things and then they were stuck and I would win games that way. I think that's actually how I beat 130 last season, but he just has so much mighty blow.
yeah,
And
his killers are
if you get
doing a ton of
yeah,
work.
if you get too aggressive, then um you're I mean, you're going to break just because everything he has mighty blow.
Yep.
Was that the game where my troll died? I
No
think it
deaths. Oh,
might
you
have.
had to do one death. Yeah, might have been the game your troll died.
I think it was the game American died. It only took 4 deaths for it to finally sink in that he is dead.
Yeah, regen fail. Yeah, I mean, he outblocked you 63 to 29. I know what you're saying with the Orc versus Lizard match. A lot of times, it just ends up with one big pile in the middle,
Yeah.
and the Orcs get
As I
the
recall,
advantage when there's just
I
two
think
dot
the
everywhere.
injuries were on my black orcs relatively early. I think,
So you were kind
and
of
that sort of
outstrand.
snowballed it.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, gotta stop basing so much.
Yeah, I've just
Keep
not
your
been
opponent's
playing
blocks
well.
down. Pastry Pest lost 1-2 against Gloom and Zoom. The kind of highlights on that one: um, 50 blocks to 31, 4 knockouts apiece, 1 injury on the side. Um, I would say that Lumi is still in his conservative, I'm just kind of waiting to see where the season goes mode. Once we get
Hmm.
to the second half of the season, that's where he just starts really taking off and playing risky. Plus,
And just
he
rolling dice in order to win because he needs to.
right. Well, and at this point, he's leveling up some gutters. So I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
if you saw the development, but he's got
they're disgusting.
since the last time we looked at him, he got 2 more movement ups on 2 different gutters.
Cut off
So
the head of Napoleon, and he goes 2 more. It's like a reverse Hydra.
yeah, it's been quite the showing this season from him. So he's got a lot of development. So as his development takes him to new heights, I expect him to win a lot more in the coming weeks. Men in Tights lost 3-2 against Eat Man Things. Ninja Pirate Assassin seems to be back on the horse and playing some good Blood Bowl, getting a big win here against the Wood Elves. Funny enough, the Wood Elves were the bullies on this one with 44 blocks succeeding, 7 knockouts, 2 injuries, and 1 kill inflicted. That's probably the bloodiest match I've seen from a Wood Elf team. At least in REL. Gotta add that
Well,
little caveat.
the bloodiest match that where a wood elf is the one inflicting the damage.
Right. That's what I mean, yeah.
It looks like the death was on a lineman. Nothing that mattered.
Probably a tree that did it too. USS Sulaco drew 1-1 against the Booze Cruise. There was a death for USS Sulaco, but I don't think it was a meaningful one. If I recall, it was a skink. Pulling this up here.
Just an unleveled skink.
Yep, that's what I thought. So yeah, that's a good match for USS Sulaco, only losing 60,000 gold. I would call that a success. It was a draw, so that's not as good, but at this point, any points are good for both those teams, and
Yeah.
just a 1-1 draw, I think, keeps them in the race.
Ison's had a rough start to the season, to be honest.
He's a rough start every season, but he's just such a good coach that it doesn't matter. He almost always is in the hunt for a playoff seed, and then when he is in the playoffs, he does fairly well.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that keeps him back is, unlike some of the other coaches that have re-rolled and are playing weaker opponents and getting further development, he's just kind of permanently parked and Div 1 with a ton of claw, a ton of developed
So
teams.
much cool.
Well, and just, like you guys this season, there's what, 4 or 5 of you that came up
Yeah.
with really stacked teams, and he's just trying to rebuild. And he's kind of permanently in this position of better teams coming in, and he's having to outcoach them with inferior pieces.
Which
So it's just
inevitably leads to more pieces dying.
right, and that's the only way that you can
Sort of
get
a
around
vicious
those
thing.
teams. Yeah, it's really tough, but and he doesn't. He's not. I don't think he's ever going to give up on the team either. So he would have to get relegated really to in order to see development. I don't think he wants that either. I think he wants the best competition. So it's the perpetual state that is Eisen Mike's team. New Day Co-op 1-1 draw against Saskatoon Shiners. Um, this one, I did watch this one. Nosedive went balls to the wall. Got a lot of injuries out of it. 5 injuries inflicted, 4 knockouts. Um,
Oh yeah,
I'm
was this the one where he like injured
just went
3 players in 3 blocks or something?
Yes, yeah, he just went crazy, and his fouls were all on point too. No expulsions. So at one point, the killer of New Day Co-op did a poor foul just to get sent off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that this one was a bit more trying for Kool-Aid than he expected. I'm actually very surprised that it ended in a 1-1 draw and that Nosedive wasn't able to actually walk away with the win, considering
Yeah.
how one-sided the removals were.
Only death was a unskilled line rat, so
Yep. Saskatoon Shiners are still in good position, in my opinion. And then Animal Farm 1-1 draw against the Knights who said knee. This is Mistays just having Sace's number. I talked earlier in the season about last season when these two teams played. Now this season, even though there's 19 armor breaks, which only resulted in 4 knockouts, so that's kind of Sace's removal game just not working.
yeah.
Um, just the good ball control from Knights Who Said Knee, being able to keep it away from any threat of Sace allows them to get the
Is
draw
this
here.
the one where Stays almost won it, but there was an intercept? Or am I
No Oh yeah, there was
misremembering?
an intercept. You're right. Yep. There was an interception. So that
There
would
was an
explain it.
interception at some point. I don't remember how meaningful it was.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's ever a meaningless interception. So
True.
So yeah, that's week 5 in the wraps. I'll take a look at the leaderboard here. New Day Co-op is still on top with 4 wins, essentially 3 wins, 3 draws, no losses. Tadpole's in the big city, sitting at 4-0-2. So both of them are tied in points right now, but the tiebreaker would go to Kool-Aid. Behind them, Gloom and Zoom and Animal Farm. One game still to be played there by Gloom and Zoom. And New Year Norse and Cheese yourself, and Pastry Pests and Horny Cricket all right in the middle of the pack there. Everybody below that is going to need significant help to make the playoffs. But there are 4 seeds in this one, so at 2 wins, you're definitely not out of it at this point.
Honestly, I think anyone in the top 10 is still solidly in contention, and everyone else will have to make a run, but
Yeah, you definitely can't rule out Motley or Eisenmike. They're both very good coaches. Their teams, ironically, are almost at the same TV as well, so they're kind of in that same spot of, hey, if we survive, we're going to do pretty good, but if we take losses, we're going to start falling behind. Who's in the last? Mistays, yeah, good old Mistays. Thinking about his reroll.
Cricket, on the other hand, he's had a rough start, but like doing a playoff run that tends to take a huge toll on your team. So
He's had big wins and big losses this season so far.
yeah.
I would say that his game against Eisenmike was probably the most dominant game of the division for this season.
Oh yeah, that's the one where like
It was over by
Eisenmike
turn
started
4.
flowing with
Yeah.
Saurus on like turn 5.
Yep. Yep. That match was over so fast it didn't even really start. He was down Saurus going into it, and
It
he
went
had
out
quick
quickly.
removals. Yep, exactly. So that one, that was very, very one sided. And then at the same time, he got Horny Cricket got beat very badly by who was it? Necronomic Gloom and Zoom 2-0. So in the first match of the season.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's been hot and cold for him. But if he makes it to the playoffs, I don't think anyone's going to count him out. So
Yeah. But when you look at the top 10, like they're all very good coaches, excluding me.
I'm
And
glad you put that there. Yeah, Ornan has won stuff.
I would never hear the end of it if I didn't.
Well, and you've
Ornan,
got
very good.
yeah, and his team is even better. A Norse team sitting at 2,000 TV is just Nuffle parading his joy for the Chaos
Yeah.
Gods.
Ornan came into REL 2 from the rookie league and then won the division. If that tells you anything.
Yeah, definitely. And Fiction's got his Strength 4 Werewolves doing Strength 4 Werewolf things. But
And
yeah,
then there's 130,
it's Div
who
1. I
also
mean, yeah.
came from the rookie league at some point, as I recall.
Well, it's the first half of the season. I think the prevailing opinion is when you come into Div 1 with a team that's,
Not
stacked.
beat up.
Exactly, not beat up, and all of Div 1 is already beat up from playoffs or last season.
You're
There
gonna
is
come
going to
off on
be,
top in the early part of the season and then start losing because you've lost a bunch of pieces.
yeah, it'll start to attrition will
The
catch up
Div
to you.
1 welcome, as we like to call it.
That's exactly it. So, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but at the same time, 4 wins with only 6 games played is a lot of points. It's gonna be hard at this point for 130 not to make playoffs. So,
Yeah, I don't think we can make any calls in the top 4 at this point.
well, that's a recap video. You're gonna make calls and talk out of your ass. That's just how we do it. So, but yeah, I think it's very interesting to see how this has gone. But let's go ahead and take a look at your team. The notorious Skaven Cheese Tactics Mark II. These are very ugly Skaven. With a very ugly goblin, which I love talking crap about. But as you want to point out, he's been doing a lot since I said how horrible and
Basically,
bloated
since
it
you
is.
said this goblin is horrible, why is it a thing? It's done the most work.
But tell me this: has Strip Ball done a thing, or would Wrestle have been better?
Strip Ball is the only reason I tied against Nosedive.
All right.
I think I'd made like 3 strip ball blocks against him because I was just playing poorly and kept giving him the ball back.
Fair enough. Your AV busted thrower. Why is it still alive?
I mean, an AG4 thrower is just so good. Like when
It doesn't
you look
have
at,
block or dodge. It's gonna die.
well, I mean, it's going to get blocked if I can ever keep it on the field,
But you can't.
which is the problem.
That's bad. Just bad.
Yeah, I've suffered so many injuries though in my past like 10 games. I don't feel like I can just replace players that are still decent.
So you're sidelining him on defense, right? If you
When
can.
I can.
When you can. Because by the time it's your half, he's oh man.
Like he's either been taken down to the 1 block I give up on him in a half, or like I've lost Black Orcs, which is usually the case.
So bloaty because you can get them replaced for like 70K. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I've lost many players so far to just straight
Did you
deaths.
recently get the strength up Black Orc, or was that a remnant
I
of
got
before?
him the game. I got him in the game before last against 130.
Okay.
The story is American died and merged his soul with Sharp Cheddar II, giving him unearthly power.
Yeah, the only problem with that is because you're in Div 1, I don't know that he's going to
Do
get
much.
the development that he needs to be effective in that role.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of Strength 5 Black Orcs unless you roll the Strength up level 3 or 4 or after, you know what I mean? Like,
I could
because you
see that.
need block and guard, and by getting the Strength up first, you're delaying that so significantly. Because
Yeah,
just getting the 31 SPP on a Black Orc is a trial and tribulation. Like, it
that's
is
true.
a journey,
But at the same time, I just got myself a new troll.
kind of. Trolls, the reason why trolls are so good isn't just because of the strength 5, it's because they have regen, you don't
Oh yeah,
care about them, and you don't even really use them, you just kind of put them there as an anchor. um,
yeah, that's
your
pretty
black
much my
orcs
argument. Yeah,
your black orcs are supposed to be a little bit more useful, and so without having guard or block, I mean, I could even see people just throwing red dice at him like a dwarf team and him
hmm
dying to red die blocks.
that's just
So
probably what's going to happen. Let's be honest here. But
yeah.
like in the Devastational, I replaced a minus AV Black Orc who was really good, and then that game, 2 Black Orcs died,
Ouch.
and I've just been trying to rebound from that ever since, and I've just had pieces dying. Like I lost my Blodge Guard Stand Firm Tackle Blitzer in a couple games ago, and I lost a lineman. I lost my troll, who was sort of the I'm just going to stand you here, and these 3 players on you are never going to move. Peace.
Yeah, the problem with that is, I mean, the only way you're going to stop dying is if you stop taking so many blocks.
Yeah.
So it's a vicious
And
cycle.
on top of that, I've taken permanent injuries on some very important pieces. So it's been a bit rough for me. Admittedly, I'm just not been playing well. I've been giving up too many blocks.
Yeah, and the movement buffs are only going to lead to more blocks. So
Yeah, a little bit.
the cycle begins
And
anew. Are
I've
you
actually,
thinking of
I've
ever
actually
re-rolling
been,
this team, or are you
um,
sticking by them? Are you eyes and
if they
miking them?
stay, if they stay, hey, relatively competitive, I'll probably stay here. But if I lose a couple more Black
I'm
Orcs
guessing, yeah.
and
What's it gonna take? Basically, is what I'm asking you. What's it gonna take to get you to re-roll this
I'm
team? Is it just the
I'm not sure
blitzers?
I want to say
You don't
because
want,
my next
you don't want to
is
voice it.
against Ace.
So if the
Very
goblin
specifically, my
dies,
next
and
game is against Ace.
if the goblin dies, and if the movement up blitzer dies, GG.
That's not inaccurate. Like this Blitzer is so good.
He's kind of your last hope.
Like, he's quite possibly the best player on my team right now.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Well, it's either that or the goblin. So I mean, between the
I'm
two.
actually thinking maybe I want to buy a neutral. It's something that occurred to me like with my problem with not having any guard and just so much claw
Hmm.
mighty blow in this. I may want to pick up the troll as
Yeah.
sort of that buffer against attrition.
Well,
Sort of like how the wood
it's
elves take a tree.
that's what I was gonna say. It's exactly like the tree because it's just one less orc that you're putting on the line against claw.
And
And
like it's
even if it
it's
dies,
weird.
110 TV isn't the end of the world. It kind of did its job already.
Yeah. It's weird to hear an orc coach complain about attrition, but I've
Well,
had
the problem is
five
you're not
deaths to the
supposed to
team,
have it, right?
three of which have been in my last 6 games in this division.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's why you hear orcs complain about it, and that's why we're commiserating. Is because by design you're supposed to have less attrition, and when
Fair.
you have more attrition, like I don't know very many teams right now in Div 1 or 2 that have had 9 or 7 deaths in the last 11 games. Like that's wood elf numbers. So
Yeah,
that's why I
that's the way
whine.
I've been thinking. Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to say I'm whining, but that's also because I know if I do lose too many more things, I'll just go Skaven because if I'm going to lose that many pieces, I might as well get a win out of it.
Maybe we shouldn't have had two um, orc coaches in the same.
Well, that's why I got you in today because I was extra salty because my wound was literally last night. Like I'm just full on salt and wine. So I might as well have cheese here.
I shouldn't be complaining now. I mean, in my last game, I got blocked by wood elves, which is
And you
embarrassing.
still won. That's the embarrassing part. How do
Yeah.
you win against wood elves when you're outblocked by wood elves? This is next
I,
week's game, so I shouldn't be looking at
yeah.
it, but I'm just peeking at it. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the next team, and that was Eat Man Things. So Ninja Pirate Assassin had a rough start to the season. Blood Bowl was not really his first priority, but he has recovered. He's taking points away from everybody else. 2-2 draw against the top of the leaderboard, New Day Co-op. A win against Men in Tights, putting Men in Tights just behind, or just ahead of Mistays. 1-1 draw against Necronomics. Barely losing to New Year Norse. Basically, my point is after giving up a free win to Cheese here, he has come back and started playing and is doing a lot better. The downside is getting to this point cost him both of his Storm Vermin, and he's
Yeah.
having to rebuild those. So that's going to
I
be a long road.
being in NPA's division last season, um, I know a bit about this. He lost claw his claw palmer like week 12 of the division
Mm,
to Grumblebee actually. Um, and that sent him back a lot because, going into playoffs, you kind of don't want to lose one of your most important pieces.
yeah. And Storm Vermin are extremely useful for the Skaven team. You can win the game entirely by gutter runners. That's kind of their design. And when you have a natural one turner with leap and agi 5,
It's so
it's
disgusting.
hard to lose in the first place. But the Storm Vermin still do a really important job of kind of keeping attrition in check and
Yeah,
keeping opponents from just flat out outnumbering you the entire time.
they're kind of what makes the openings for your gutter runners to do things.
Right, right. It at least makes it so instead of rolling 3 dice to score, you have to roll 2 dice to score.
Yeah.
So it's very useful and helpful, and that kind of sets him back not having that. That said,
Although I
that
will
one
say
turner
playing
is
this
so
game
good.
is so frustrating because this is one turner.
Hmm.
Like you're going into the game and you're like, okay, I'm already behind in score.
Well,
Like,
and he doesn't have any bench at all now either. So that's the other
yeah,
thing with those early, just destructive games that he had. The one turner is on the pitch the whole time, so you can basically spend 8 turns trying to chase it down and punch it. And if you
please,
can
for
get it,
all that's good and holy, kill this thing. I've tried to
yeah,
kill this thing for 2 seasons now.
I've
It
got
just doesn't die.
I've got Golgoth with the other one, so I know what your pain is like.
I had, I had three. I think I had three natural one turners last season because I had NPA and Golgo, and I forget which other Skaven team
Yeah,
last season in REL too.
yeah. But since he has turned the corner, we did kind of consider him right on the border of making the playoffs. He could still make a run for it. I mean, that's
Oh yeah,
even with just 4 good pieces. That's really all you
I
need.
mean, this is
So,
all you really need. I mean, look at this. He's got two heads at G5. He's got
and
this disgusting one
the
turner.
wall of inducements that he can
Yeah,
get.
I
Um,
was looking at the teams today and I was like, oh, I mean, some of these teams have gotten pretty trim. And then you hit this team if it's 1240 TV.
yeah, it's very trim. So that would be it. Upcoming matches for this week. Well, guess what? There's only one left.
They're done.
So everything else that's interesting we'll
I
talk about
think
next
Gloom
week.
Zoom
But
and USS Sulaco is going to be the most interesting thing to talk about.
yeah, of
I'm
this
not really sure why, though.
of this matchup, actually, I could say why. It's the REL one battle of you've got a really strong team in terms of pieces, and then on the other side you've got Eisen Mike, who may not have all the pieces but has all the plays. Um,
And he's
I
used to having to outcoach his opponents because his swords
right.
constantly die.
So I expect this to go a little bit better than the last Necro game for him, where he's not having to give up on turn 4. But at the same time, I do expect Source to get removed. Gloom
Yeah.
and Zoom Strength 4 Werewolves are really good at getting rid of Source because they only need 1 assist. And he knows how to leverage that. I would probably still give the Scar. Well, if I was betting money, I would say it's going to be a 1-1 or 2-2 draw. But
Maybe.
if I'm going to give the edge to somebody, I'm going to probably say it's going to go to Eisen Mike.
I don't want to say it's a make or break it game for Ice and Mike, but it's going to get a lot harder from here on out
Yeah.
to pull out a playoff run if he loses this. Admittedly, he's had a tough starting schedule, as I recall, and so I think it was what Sace was saying last week, is you're going to see some coaches who have maybe been getting lucky and had a decent starting lineup, myself, start falling, and some of these better coaches who had a rougher start to the season start coming back up. Like NPA, Ice and Mike, Motley.
Yeah. I would say he still has all the rookie coaches to play, and could definitely shine through in those matches. He's got Mistays, which he's going to be favored in. Um, near the end of the season, he's got a very important match against Lumi, so that'll be probably a playoff seed determiner.
Yeah.
But next week he plays 130, and that one will be between this one and that one. If he loses both, that's going to be a very hard thing to correct.
Yeah. Because 130 is a fairly good coach, and like
Well, I
he
mean, it's
has
a
a lot
mirror
of mighty
matchup,
blow.
and I'm sure you know from playing Orcs, mirror matchups pretty
Oh,
much
for
usually
sure.
go in the way of the one that has the most development. Doesn't matter
Or
at
the
that
most
point.
mighty blow.
Yeah, you just get tipped on at one point. So um, that'll be a very challenging match for any coach, let alone Eisenmike. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Anything else that you wanted to mention while I've got you?
Um, I mean, aside from joking about how I've played awful and I'm only in the middle of the table because I've walked into it, not really.
It's been nice to have a humble cheese. Um,
Yeah, I like talking big because it gives everyone a target to make fun of. And I have thick skin, so I don't really care.
yeah, I guess
Usually.
I've gone a little over on my time on my 1 hour, and people want the recap, not the soapbox. But I will say it's at this point of the season where teams are becoming aware of the fact that they're not going to make the playoffs, or in the coming weeks, it's going to be even more apparent that they're not going to make the playoffs. And what I will say is ultimately, yes, this is a hyper competitive league. It's part of what makes it fun. It is a awesome growing community with coaches that really are passionate about this game, and the way that it's played, and just sometimes that includes giving each other crap when you lose, or taunting, or all that kind of stuff.
A lot of
But
times.
it's really important that win, lose, or draw, you're still, a member of the community. You're still playing competitively. You're not just giving up. You're not walking away from the league. You're not trying to sabotage things, or cause drama. There's been so much in the last week, whether it's discussing tiebreakers or talking about quitting, or things like that. Like, ultimately,
turn 16
even if
serves or fouls
oh,
or
oh yeah, that's that too. That always comes up. Um, ultimately, it's about setting goals for your team and what you want to do for the rest of the season and coming up with things that are reasonable. So if you can't make the playoffs, maybe changing your path. Okay, well then maybe I want to get my team developed on these three pieces. Or okay, I just want to survive. I don't want to lose
yeah,
anything else. How can I work on getting better at minimizing my blocks, for example, and trying to survive the rest of the season? So
yeah,
set those goals for you. If you and the community loves to give feedback and help, even if it's shitting on you and tagging every one of your posts with 84.
yeah,
If you do have like questions about how you can be playing better, just ask. And as long as it's not me and you're not in my division, I will probably help you, or someone will probably help you.
yeah.
Um,
Or make fun of you. Mostly
well,
make fun of you.
a little bit of both, but
Although,
that's what's great about this division is this league, I should say, is it's just
yeah,
it's a competitive in the right ways.
I will say that I came into the Rebel coming off of CCL, and like I just want to play good coaches. Like I had come off it right off of my decent CCL runs where I really didn't want to start playing just bad coaches again in order to get that 4 or 5 good games in.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's
so
something just
I
with Blood
came
Bowl itself is it's a very
to like
time-consuming game. Like it
I
takes
want to play good.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes hours, and I want to play some good coaches. I want to play games that challenge me.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you look at REL one, I'm up here and I'm like, why am I playing these coaches that are just better than me? What am I thinking?
And the worst part is you're winning. That's the scary thing.
Yeah, I'm doing better than most people thought I would.
Well,
Admittedly, I've been lucky off of, 5+ catches that have denied my opponent scoring.
yeah, that's crazy.
But
But that's Blood Bowl. So
I,
anyway, everybody, thanks for listening to my mini rant. But keep at it.
and my nonsense.
Yeah, and reach out and stay involved. It's a great community, and that's part of what makes this an awesome game and why it keeps growing. Is people want to be a part of it because of the competition and just good spirits and sportsmanship. But I will let you guys go. Have a good night. Thanks for watching.